Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Christopher Clement, Executive Director of Engagement and Enterprise Projects with the Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency. Today, the SPSA will provide a technical overview of the wildfires in the province. I'd also like to note that we are recording the call. Recording will be posted on Facebook and YouTube following this call. Today, we'll hear from Honorable Tim McLeod, Minister of Corrections, Policing and Public Safety, as well as SPSA's Vice President of Operations, Steve Roberts. We do have a hard stop at 2 p.m., so we will ask members of the media to ask one question. If we have time remaining in the meeting, we will go to follow-ups, but again, we have a hard stop at 2. With that, I will turn it over to Minister McLeod.
Well, thank you very much, Chris. And I think what I'll do is first I'll start by allowing Steve to make a technical update, and then we'll provide a few comments after that. And that will conclude the presentation portion, then we'll open to questions after that. So Steve, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So today in Saskatchewan, we have 25 active wildfires. That is 256 year to date. Our 5-year average for this time is 145, so almost double the normal fire load. Looking at the fires of concern, even though we have received some much wanted precipitation, these fires continue to get work to secure them, starting with the Shoe Fire, currently estimated at over 500,000 hectares. Highways 912 and 913 remain closed due to this fire. J. Smith Fire, currently 139,000 hectares. Currently no highways directly impacted or closed because of this fire. The Ditch Fire by Wyakwin, Highway 969 remains closed due to this fire. Size is estimated to be 153,000 hectares in size. The Pisu Fire, which is in the Larange area, currently estimated at 181,000 hectares in size. Highway 2 North and 102 North in the vicinity of Larange are impacted by this fire and may be intermittently closed for access. Wolf Fire west of Denair Beach, currently Highway 167 is closed due to this fire, as well as 106 from the 135 junction to Creighton. Fire is estimated at 130,000 hectares. The Pelican Fire north of Pelican Narrows, 135 access has been restored, and that fire currently estimated at 34,000 hectares. Club Fire, which is in the Creighton area, currently 17,000 hectares on the Saskatchewan side, 60,000 hectares total size. Highway 167 remains closed due to this fire, and they continue work with our Manitoba partners on this joint border fire. As a summary, currently we have recorded and confirmed 295 values have been damaged or completely lost by fire so far this year. Evaluations continue in multiple locations today to verify asset loss due to fires. 33 communities are on evacuation status, and that may be full, partial, or limited evacuations in some situations. As of today, 10,262 persons are being supported by the Canadian Red Cross on evacuation status, 860 by the Public Safety Agency, plus numerous individuals who self-evacuated that are staying with families and friends and may be receiving intermittent supports from either agency. And Minister, that's my summary for today.
Thank you, Steve. I'll start by just noting recently we've received some very beneficial rains and cooperative weather, and that coupled with significant efforts from our firefighters and our frontline staff, we're resulting in progress and some positive developments. I want to take this opportunity to stop and thank those frontline staff, thank the firefighters who are doing just some tremendous work, as well as our partners with the Crown corporations, SaskTel, SaskPower. We have some just incredible efforts and courageous efforts, I would say, being made by these staff to get back into very dangerous zones to restore power, to restore communications. And I want to take this opportunity to thank and recognize all of those folks who are doing just some tremendously valuable work, keeping our community safe and indeed saving lives. The evacuation order has been lifted for Weyakwan, and the residents of that community are now able to safely return home. I understand the Foran mining site is no longer under threat from the wildfires, and as a result, Foran has begun a staged and controlled repatriation of their personnel to that site. The company anticipates a full return to the site by this coming Friday. And we're very encouraged by that. We're optimistic that more communities will indeed be returning home in the days and weeks ahead, and we look forward to that progress. We continue to be in daily contact with our federal counterparts. Spoke with federal ministers, both the Federal Minister of Public Safety and the Federal Minister of Emergency Management this morning, on how we can align the needs of our province and the resources they can offer. I can't restate this enough. I know the Premier has said it and Marlo has said it. This isn't a situation where we're not asking for assistance or they're not offering assistance. It's simply a situation where we need the needs that we have to align with what they're offering. And we continue to have those conversations daily to find that alignment. And we're encouraged by those ongoing conversations. As we move towards recovery and the safe cleanup of our communities, we have indeed identified ways that we believe the federal government can support our efforts. And the SPSA has made a request to the federal government to provide 2 base camps to support our crews, and have also made a request for tents for sheltering up to 200 people. Those requests have been communicated to the federal government. We're optimistic that we'll hear a response back shortly in that regard. Those base camps would be established for working crews as they go back into the communities and they're rebuilding. And this is a really positive change in what we've been seeing. We're now turning a corner, I would say, and optimistic. Still much work to be done, but preparing for that next phase, making sure that we are ahead of the cleanup efforts and the rebuilding efforts that we know are to come. With that, I'll conclude my remarks and welcome any questions.
Thank you, Minister. We will go online for questions to begin with. Stephanie, if you can call the first question, please.
Sure. Christopher, please say your outlet and 1 question.
Yeah, Chris Vandenbrico with Global News Saskatoon. Question more for Steve, I suppose, in this. Steve, looking at the fire borders on the SPSA maps, it looks as if some of these fires have merged, or is that just already burned area? Looking specifically at the Ditch and Shoe fires, their borders seem to be overlapping, as well as the I believe it's the Pelican and the Wolf and Club fires.
So some of them actually have merged. The reason there seems to be some overlap is, of course, because we ascertain some of the borders by thermal imaging. So it's mapping the heat, not necessarily the flame on the ground. And in some cases where the fires have merged, we've actually turned them into one fire, such as the Shoe fire. But there's others for logistical reasons, such as the Ditch fire and the Shoe fire, that we do not want to merge together. Because of logistical reasons, they're being managed from different areas of the province. So we've kept them separate, even though their borders touch at some point.
Mackenzie, your question?
Thanks. Yeah, this is Mackenzie Mazinkowski with Global News Saskatoon. Could you quickly clarify which communities have already been given that green light to return home? I think we mentioned Weyakwan and the Pelican Narrows. I believe we're hearing that as well. Could you just clarify that, and also kind of if you have any idea which are being considered for the next phase of return, and kind of what factors are influencing that decision, and what kind of conditions must be met before the green light is given to go home?
Yeah, maybe I'll touch on that quickly and then turn it over to Steve for some of the more specific details. But you're absolutely right. Weyakwen, the evacuation order was lifted, and those folks can safely return home. I think it's important to point out that repatriation is always a community decision made by the community leadership, and we hope that they would do that in consultation with the Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency, who have assessment teams that go in and make sure that it is safe for people to return. We want to make sure that the critical infrastructure like water and sewer are in place, and certainly when people return home, we want to make sure that they're returning to communities where they have the services that they need, where they can receive groceries and things like that, and safely repatriate into their communities. Pelican Narrows, I understand, is no longer under threat, and some residents have returned home. There is still significant smoke in that area, and certainly the priority 1 and priority 2 folks that I'll let Steve speak to may want to be cautioned about returning just yet, but Steve, maybe I'll turn that over to you.
Sure. There's an assessment process that we go through. Interesting us, it is the same assessment process that happens before an evacuation occurs. So some of the factors are immediate fire threat, smoke threat, sustaining critical services like medical, power, communication, and access. So if some of those become compromised, we'll often see an evacuation occur. So those are the same things we consider before we recommend people move back, is because they're going to need, some people will need that access. So if you are a person receiving health services, could be anything, you could have routine medical appointments, dialysis, and you have to get in and out of your community twice a week. If access is a compromising issue, it may not be suitable for you to return to your community. If you are someone with a chronic medical condition and can't tolerate smoke, the community could be safe from fire threat, but drift smoke could be problematic for days to come. Whereas the recommendation may be is those people do not return. In addition to that, once an evacuation has occurred, there's a number of things that stop in those communities. So if we take Pelican Narrows, no one's been restocking the grocery store. No one's been in the hospital to ensure that the hospital is ready to receive patients. No one has filled up the gas at the local gas station. So when people come back and want to reestablish their lives in their homes and do cleanup and restock their fridges and get on with their life, they have to have those critical resources. So often we stage those or recommend staging those so that people who arrive aren't further inconvenienced by not having the critical things they need. Anything from cell service to power, critical. You can have groceries and bring them back, but if you don't have any power in the community, your fridge isn't working. So, we have to look at some of those things. We ask the community officials to look at them as well. And then decide if you're in, the ability to have them quickly removed again may also be compromised if there's an access issue. So it has to be sort of a much longer based decision, and there are a number of factors. So we do an assessment, we share it with community leaders. Ultimately, community leaders will decide which communities and which members of those communities should be returning and on what time frame.
Carla?
Hi, Carla Schenkerik here with CTV Saskatoon. Thank you for taking my question. I did reach out to the province about this. My question is about support, and they said that you should be able to answer that here in this news conference, so here's hoping. So I talked to a mother of 5 from Creighton who said she's spent about over $7,000 already on fuel, supplies, food, and just necessities for her kids, and hasn't received anything yet in the way of monetary support. So just wondering why that might be. Certain people haven't received anything yet, and what you would like to tell these people that are still waiting. She was evacuated on the 27th of May. Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Carla. I would say a couple of things. Of course, when it's been identified that when folks evacuated, they either registered with the Canada Red Cross or with the SPSA. If they registered with the SPSA and they have questions or issues, we would encourage them to call that 1-855 number. That's 1-855-559-5502, and they'll receive answers and assistance at that number. If they are registered with the Canadian Red Cross, The number that they call is 1-800-863-6582. And similarly, they should receive the answers to the questions and immediate supports. We have teams on the ground in our evacuation sites that the SPSA is manning, making sure that the supports are there and that the staff are there to answer those questions or concerns as they may arise. And the Red Cross, of course, we have contributed $15 million to assist in their efforts in this regard, and we're expecting that if they're the ones delivering the supports to evacuees, that they would be equally responsive to anybody that's expressing concerns to that organization.
Thank you. Our next question comes through the chat function from Sam McKay. She asks, how can we say we've turned a corner when more than 1 million hectares are currently on fire? Does that mean that the fires are not threatening communities? Can you elaborate? She points to Minister, but I'm wondering if Steve provide that, please.
Yeah, there's still a lot of fires, but the simple factor is same amount of area, but much of that area has already burnt. So really you're looking at the perimeters of those fires, and the biggest issue that's affecting the threat level is how active those edges are, and with the changes in weather, cooler overnights, more resources on the ground, we are being able to hold those edges, which means we're reducing the threat or likelihood of further evacuations or damage. So that's why, even though the fire sizes haven't changed, that this situation over the last couple of days has made a difference in how we can make progress on these fires and hold them in the places they are and not escalate the threat factor.
Aiden, your question?
So Hallie wouldn't be covering.
So, Aiden Jagger with Saskatoon Star Phoenix. I was just wondering, do you have any response to the NDP or evacuees' concerns about the Premier not seeking assistance from the military?
Well, as I said earlier, and the Premier and Marlo have said several times, the ask for assistance needs to align with the resources that are available. And what the military are offering in other provinces, aerial evacuations of remote communities. Well, that's not a need that we have here in Saskatchewan at this point in time. Or Type 3 firefighters. Well, that's not a need that we have at this point in time. The needs that we do have, we are putting out requests for, and those requests are being processed as we speak. And we're in daily contact with our federal counterparts, and they're more than willing to offer assistance, provided that assistance aligns with our needs. And I don't know how else to say it other than we are asking for what we need, and they are offering what they have. Sometimes those will align, and sometimes they won't. But the conversations are ongoing daily, and the assessments are happening regularly. And it's unfortunate if the NDP want to become political about it. This is a situation where lives matter and communities are at stake, and we're doing everything possible to provide the resources and the supports that those communities need, and our federal counterparts are offering what they have to give where that aligns with our needs.
Okay, up next, Ashwarya.
Good afternoon. The mayor of Air Ronde says she's filled with shame that evacuees in the tri-community area are falling through the gaps. She says residents have been given the runaround and that there's a major disconnect between the SPSA and Red Cross. Evacuees are being turned away, no support is being provided to them, and she's calling on the government to rectify the problems that these evacuees are facing. Could you please respond to that? Thank you.
Sure. I would say no evacuees should be turned away from supports that they need. Certainly, if they're registered with Red Cross, they may be redirected to the Red Cross to make sure that where they're registered, the supports are being provided. And conversely, with SPSA registrants, Steve provided the numbers earlier. I think there's over 11,000 people that are receiving supports and services. And anytime you're looking at an emergency like this, there's going to be a a lot of communication that needs to happen, and everybody's doing their level best to make sure that people are directed where they should be directed and get the resources that they need. And certainly we're providing as much access as we can to 1-855 numbers, 1-800 numbers. There's information for evacuees on the website to direct them to the appropriate places where they can find the resources and the supports they need if they have questions.
Hallie?
Good afternoon. This is Hallie here from CTV. There's several communities currently under a voluntary evacuation mandate, but members are anticipating that could soon shift to a full evacuation, like in Candle Lake, for example. How can residents of these communities prepare for this possible evacuation? And also, what is the criteria for the mandate to make that shift from voluntary to mandatory?
Sure, we mentioned it earlier. It's up to leadership. So the leadership can be proactive and allow, people to know in advance that prepare yourself. Figure out what you would take, where you would go, what you would do. That's a proactive measure. Should be done, with everybody who knows that one day they might face an emergency. The decision to make it mandatory will be based on a number of factors, including fire threat. In the case of Candle Lake, it'll be whether the shoe fire moves in an eastward direction towards Candle Lake, in a westward direction. If it stays stable and there's no movement, the threat is not going to increase. So, the leadership will work with their incident command team to look at the threat. Was it changing? Is it increasing? Is it decreasing? And based on that, they'll make a decision on whether they think their community is going to be better off to evacuate or to continue to stay and be on alert.
Charlotte?
Yeah, Charlotte Marshall from Radio Canada. It's a follow-up question regarding the evacuees. We've heard from them and from mayors that they don't get the difference between the help they can get from the SPSA and the one provided by the Red Cross, where they should ask for help. So can you walk us through how the SPSA make the decision of who's taking charge of a community or evacuees, and how do you split this help between you and the other agencies?
So the definite answer is the leadership decides. If the leadership wishes to do their evacuation and utilize a third-party agency like the Red Cross, that is their decision, and they will guide their members or citizens to that service. If there are other communities that ask the Public Safety Agency to manage their evacuees, then we will do so and they will register with us. So it's not up to the citizens as much as the leadership of their communities to make that decision on where they're going to get services and who they're going to get it from. And each of those service bundles are a little bit different. And that's to be expected because people do business in different ways. Some will look at congregate houses, some will only look at hotels. Some will look at food vouchers, some will look at providing direct meals. So there's a different ways to solve some of these issues, and each service provider does it in a different manner.
Marija? Sorry, no follow-ups. Next up is Marija.
Hi, yeah, Maria Robinson from 980 CJME. I'm just wondering more about those base camps. Can you talk to me more about them and where they're going to be located?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So the base camps would one of them would be a larger one to support somewhere between 100 and 150 individuals. Those camps would provide sleeping quarters. They would provide a facility for cooking and eating. They'd have bathroom and shower facilities in them, and they would be designed for workers to stay at as they rebuild communities and as we go back to repatriating these communities and restoring services in them. Of course, the largest loss to infrastructure that we've seen is in Denair Beach, and I would expect that the larger camp would probably be in that area. The smaller camp would support between 50 and 100 individuals, And
Hallie has a ton of
it would
info.
likely-
She's wondering if we could get it in.
it would likely be
in your story
somewhere in the Weyakwan-Larange area.
Up next, Tina. Tina, you're up next. Might be on mute.
Hi, yes, sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Hi, sorry guys. My question for today is I understand that there was some overwhelming support in regards to the Prince Albert Grand Council's request to fill 50 certified Type 3 firefighters to support wildfire efforts in Larange. So just, I was hoping you could speak to the fact that, you know, it was successfully filled and how quickly those crews would be on the ground and if there may be a call out for more.
So we continue to assess our opportunity to put Type 3 firefighters on the fire line. As those are coming from our incident commanders, we are indeed filling them. So we've already got some Type 3 firefighters working on certain projects. We expect that to continue as more fire line becomes contained and stable. So we will continue to resource Type 3 firefighters from any of our providers. I know that at this point, they're also mobilizing Type 3 fires from the Meadow Lake Tribal Council area in an effort that if we cannot receive extra, they may be able to provide them as well. So they are being put to work. And what we will continue to do is if they're not being identified, we will be actively trying to recruit and identify opportunities for them to ensure that we can match up willing firefighters with fire line that needs their attention.
Aaliyah?
Hi, Aaliyah with CBC. I was just wondering if either of you could clarify some comments that were made by Premier Mo last week on Friday. He said that an individual that started the fire that originated out of Weyakwan, which is known as the ditch fire, has been charged by the RCMP. Is that correct? Are those arson charges directly connected to the wildfire? Or is that something else? Because I think there's just a bit of disconnect and misclarification there.
Yeah, thanks for the question. The information that we had at the time was that the RCMP have charged 2 individuals with arson related to the starting of two fires, and that remains to be the information that I have at this point. And of course, as was commented on Friday, those investigations are ongoing and will allow them to take their course. But we know that virtually all, if not all, of the forest fires in Saskatchewan were human caused. And unfortunately, some of those were intentionally caused by humans. And so we thank our policing partners for continuing to investigate those situations and where appropriate, where they are identifying an intentional cause, they're certainly laying charges and those individuals will be prosecuted.
Okay, and for our last question, Timur.
Hello, can you hear me? Hi, this is Timur Durrani from the Globe and Mail. Can you give us a big picture look at the locations where Saskatchewan's evacuees are being housed as of today in terms of numbers and the names of cities or towns? And also, is Saskatchewan willing to take in any evacuees from other provinces, such as Ontario, where the northwestern region, specifically near Sandy Lake First Nation, is facing a huge wildfire right now with thousands of evacuations?
So I can tell you that there probably isn't a corner of Saskatchewan that hasn't been checked for available rooms. We have evacuees as far south as Weyburn, all the way to Unity, to Swift Current. All the major centers, Prince Albert, Regina, Saskatoon, have received evacuees. Pretty much if there's a spot where that will accept an evacuee, we've tried to direct them there, including, unfortunately, having to break up family and community groups into smaller units, just because of the ability to accommodate and supply supports to them. Until we resolve the current issue with our availability for evacuees, that's when we would be able to determine on a national level whether we could provide assistance to our out-of-province partners. I mean, at one point we were looking at Alberta as housing a potential evacuees if that number had continued to grow. So that's common. But we will try to work within the province first before we go out, and also we will wait till we have sufficient capacity and reserve in the province before we would offer those supports to our neighbors, should they need those.
Okay, we will have last question to Christopher.
Thank you. Chris Vandenbreek with Global News again. Clarification earlier, Steve, when we were talking about services in Pelican Narrows, you were suggesting that the grocery store hasn't been restocked and stuff like that. Are you kind of getting at that people maybe should reconsider the ability to go back to Pelican Narrows right now, and that they should take direction from the SPSA first?
Well, it's a leadership decision. And then after that, I mean, the leadership can say you can go back. Some people, of course, are more independent than others. If you're a single person who might be quite comfortable going back and living without power, but if you're a family of 4 and 2 of those are toddlers, maybe you need the power and the water and all of those other resources available. So you may choose to wait a little longer. If you're somebody who needs medical supports, you're going to want to ensure that the hospital in Pelican is up and running to meet your needs, versus staying out in Prince Albert or Saskatoon where you are getting medical support. So there's a lot of factors. It's not a one-size-fits-all, but it's one of the reasons why when people return to their communities, that they're well aware of what resources are there. It may not be exactly vibrant and stocked in the exact same conditions because it's been unoccupied for a number of weeks. So something to consider, something to clarify and ask your community leads on. I want to go back. Is this set up? Can I get this? Can I do this? Should I be bringing back groceries to cover me for 1 week? So ask those questions of your service providers and your community leaders before you come back, just to be absolutely sure that you're going to be in a good place when you get back home.
Okay, thank you. That concludes today's event. I want to thank Minister McLeod and Steve for being here today. We'll talk to you soon. Stay safe.